Hello, my name is Holly Kaiser. I am the program coordinator for the Physical Therapist Assistant Program at Mercer County Community College. And this is the mandatory PTA program information session. Any students who are planning on applying for the professional phase of the PTA program are required to participate in this information session, which means watching this video and then completing and submitting the PTA program info session participation form. Once you submit that, within 6 business days, a note will be placed in your student planner portal indicating that you have fulfilled the PTA program information session requirement. If you don't see this note in your student planner 6 business days after you have submitted it, then please email pta@mccc.edu. Of course, this means that you need to have a student planner portal. So you need to be a student at Mercer County Community College, which is free, and anyone can register in order to have that in place. So what is physical therapy? So it is therapy for the preservation, enhancement, and restoration of movement and physical function impaired or threatened by disease, injury, or disability, that utilizes therapeutic exercise, physical modalities, assistive devices, and patient education and training. And in other countries or other parts of the world, it's also called physiotherapy. So there are only 2 providers who can legally bill for physical therapy services, and those are physical therapists and physical therapist assistants. And it's important to note that the program here at Mercer County Community College is a program that graduates physical therapist assistants. So a little bit about the difference between a PT, a physical therapist, and a PTA, physical therapist assistant. So PTs, I'm not going to read this whole slide to you, but what PTs do that PTAs cannot do is they examine and evaluate patients. They create goals for those patients. They create a plan of care. They can change and update that plan of care. They can reevaluate the patient, and they can discharge the patient. What PTs do that PTAs can also do is to provide physical therapy interventions and to gather objective data. So physical therapists require a doctoral degree, so their entry-level degree into the profession is a doctorate degree, it's a DPT, and they have to pass a national board exam and become licensed in the state that they want to work in. For a PTA earns an Associate of Applied Science from Mercer County Community College, has to graduate from a CAPD accredited program, and they also have to sit for a licensing exam and or national board exam and become licensed in the state that they want to practice in. So PTAs work under the direction and supervision of a physical therapist, and let's see, they treat patients from all age ranges and in many different practice settings, which we'll get to in just a moment. Okay, so where do PTAs work? So this data is from 2014, so it is 6 years old now. But you can see that almost half PTAs work in an outpatient facility. It looks like a quarter work in hospitals. I would say if this data was gathered in 2020, that we would see that hospital, the quarter, shrink a little bit. Skilled nursing facility, it looks like an eighth. I would say that has maybe grown a little bit. Home health has probably grown a little bit, and few are in physician-owned outpatient practices. So employment outlook. So employment of PTAs is projected to grow 41% from 2014 to 2024, and much faster than the average for all occupations. We have been accredited by CAPD, which is our external accreditor, the Commission on Accreditation in Physical Therapy Education, since 1998. And we've had 100% employment for all of our graduating classes. It's important to keep in mind that PTAs are frequently on their feet throughout the day, moving around as they work with patients. This is probably what draws a lot of people to the profession, are people who don't want to sit behind a computer or at a desk all day long. So this is a physical job. And because transferring and guarding patients to keep them safe is part of the job description, PTs and PTAs are vulnerable to back injuries, just like nurses and other healthcare providers. But what we can do is we use proper body mechanics and lifting techniques, and that helps to limit those risks. So again, all physical therapist and physical therapist assistant programs in the country are accredited by the same entity, and that is CAPTE, the Commission on Accreditation in Physical Therapy Education. And this program at Mercer has been accredited since 1998. After students graduate from our program, they are eligible to take the National Physical Therapy Examination, which is the national board exam. That only has to be passed once. So once you pass that exam, you never have to take it again for the rest of your professional career. You are also required to pass your state jurisprudence exam, which is nothing to lose sleep over. It's the state's mechanism to make sure that they give a license only to people who are familiar with that particular state's laws pertaining to the practice of physical therapy. I'm going to switch over to a different screen share now, and I'm going to go to our information packet. Actually, first I'm going to go to the website so that I can orient you to our PTA website. So our website is mccc.edu/PTA. So here's our homepage. We've got our mission statement and our program goals listed on the front, along with information about our accreditation through CAPTE and how to file a complaint. And over here on the left, we have PTA program information. So I'm looking at the left navigation, and I'm going to click on that. And you can see that we have a lot of outcome data listed here: licensure pass rates, employment rates, graduation rate or completion rate, and then information on applications into our program, and information about each cohort of students who has been accepted into the program. The second thing down is pre-professional phase information. So these are for our students who have not yet been accepted into the professional phase. And you can see the second one down is the PTA program information packet. That's what we're going to review together in just a moment, but I wanted to show you where you can find that. We also have a course equivalency page. So if you are taking prerequisite courses at another college, you can come here and make sure that you choose the appropriate course to make sure that you're not wasting your time and your funds. You can see ahead of time which courses equate to the required courses at Mercer. We have some frequently asked questions, and then we have at the very bottom, we have the admissions criteria. So we're going to talk about this in this video. This explains how our admissions process works, and then we also have an example, which we'll talk through together, of the application scoring process. And if we go back out to the home page, then our next piece of information down is for professional phase students. So anyone who's been accepted into the professional phase, there's a lot of information here for those students. So this is the information packet, which you have access to through the PTA program's website, which I just oriented you to. So here's the cover. This is the definition of a physical therapist according to our professional association, the American Physical Therapy Association. Page 2, we've got a table of contents. Page 3, we have a little welcome letter. I'm not going to read this letter to you in this video, but you can certainly read this welcome letter on your own. And then this next page is a description. If someone asked me to describe our program on one page, that's what this is. Again, I'm not going to read this to you either. It talks a little bit about our teaching methods. It does include the 3 domains of learning, so I will talk about that briefly. So all courses in the PTA program contain course objectives, and all of those course objectives are broken up into 3 different categories. So the first category are our cognitive objectives, and our cognitive objectives speak to what do we want this student to know when he or she is done with the course that he or she did not know when they started the course. So we assess your cognitive objectives with written exams and quizzes, and sometimes assignments. The psychomotor objectives speak to what do we want this student to be able to do at the end of this course that he or she was unable to do at the beginning of the course. So that includes things like using a goniometer to take joint range of motion measurements, or taking vital sign measurements, or using an ultrasound machine or an e-stim machine. So we can't assess that with a written exam. We can assess the cognitive knowledge of those skills with a written exam, but the actual doing is tested through what we call competency testing and practical exams, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But that's when a proctor watches you perform the skill, and then you're graded on the performance of that skill. And the affective domain has to do with professional behavior and communication, and different courses assess the affective domain differently. In quite a few of my courses, I have the students do a self-reflective paper on their affective course objectives. Let's see, so students graduating from the PTA program do participate in the May commencement ceremony, and recently we have implemented a health professions pinning ceremony, which has been a success. All right, the next page has to do with resources for pre-professional PTA students. So first and foremost, a resource to you is the PTA program website, which contains a significant amount of information. You also have a faculty advisor. So there are 2 full-time faculty members within the PTA program. There's myself and currently Professor Barbara Behrens, who will be retiring at the end of spring 2020. And starting in the fall of 2020, we will have a new faculty member in place. But students whose last names begin with the letters A through L are currently advised by Professor Barbara Behrens, and that will change over to our new faculty member in the fall. And any student whose last name begins with M through Z is advised by me, Professor Kaiser. It does not matter to me what your last name ends with. If you email me, I will get back to you and I will help you in any way that I can. But please know that once you know who your faculty advisor is, that person should be your primary method of receiving advisement and information about the PTA program. We also have a health profession success coach. Her name is Nicole Killian. She is fantastic. She will work with you one-on-one or in small groups or in large groups to work on things like test-taking skills, multiple choice test-taking skills, test-taking anxiety reduction, organizational skills, time management skills, all of those things that typically aren't taught in class but are really necessary in order to succeed in class. Here's a little information about our program accreditation. We are accredited by CAPD, as I've said numerous times already. This next page is application and graduation requirements at a glance. And so the left column outlines our application requirements, and the right column outlines our graduation requirements. And I'm not going to read this to you now, but by the time we're done with this information session video, we will have talked about all of this. The next page is our degree requirements. So you can see that there are 2 semesters here that are not shaded in gray. Those are all of the prerequisite courses. Once you've completed all of these prerequisite courses, then you apply for the professional phase of the PTA program. And once accepted, then you'll start the professional phase. So you can see the professional phase begins with a summer semester, which is 6 to 8 weeks in length. There are 2 lab courses in that summer semester, PTA 107 and PTA 201. Then you come back for a fall semester. And the fall semester, so our academic semesters are 14 weeks long for the fall and spring semesters. The last 4 weeks of the semester is your first clinical affiliation. So the first 10 weeks of the semester is when you complete all of your didactic coursework, your lectures and your labs on campus. You have to pass all of those lectures and labs in order to be eligible to go into your first clinical affiliation, which is the final 4 weeks of the fall semester. And you come back for a 14-week spring semester, and it's very similar. That clinical affiliation is the last 5 weeks of the spring semester. So all of your didactic coursework, all of your lectures and labs will be completed during the first 9 weeks of the spring semester. And you have to pass all of those courses in order to be eligible to participate in the spring clinical. And then your final semester is 1 6-week clinical affiliation in the summer semester. These courses here that are not shaded in gray, all the prerequisite courses, can be completed at your own pace. There's English 101 and English 102, which need to be, which do not have an expiration date, and you must earn a grade of C or higher. Psych 101, you must earn a grade of C or higher, and it has a 10-year expiration date. Mathematics, if taken in the spring of 2020 or after, you have to earn a C+ or higher. Bio 103 and Bio 104 is Anatomy and Physiology 1 and 2. Those courses must be taken at the same academic institution. They have a 5-year expiration date, and you must earn a grade of C+ or higher. CSW 100 has no expiration date. You have to earn a C or higher. Your general education elective has no expiration date. You have to earn a C or higher. And kinesiology is offered in the fall and spring semesters. It must be taken at Mercer. It has a 5-year expiration, and you have to earn a grade of C+ or higher. The only time we will even consider accepting transfer credit for kinesiology is if someone has earned a bachelor's degree in kinesiology. All right, the next 2 pages is our application. And you can see at the top, in the top right-hand box, it says PTAP 2021. So for any students who are planning on applying in January or February of 2021, this would be the application that they use. If you plan on applying in a later year, you will need to make sure that you get an updated application. So we accept applications between January 2nd and February 28th of each year. Applicants will be notified sometime after spring break of their admission status. And it's important to note that admission into the PTA program is not guaranteed for any individual. So you need to legibly complete this form in full and submit it to the Health Professions Division Administrative Assistant in MS 128, or place it in the lockbox outside of MS 128. So you are to complete this in full: your name, your student ID, your address, telephone number, which date you attended the information session, your Mercer email, and your personal email. And then you're going to complete this table. So for this table, you're going to indicate the year you completed the course and where you took the course. So for English 101, maybe you took it in 2018 at Mercer. English 102, maybe you took it in 2019 at Mercer. Psych 101, maybe you took that in 2016 at Brookdale. So that's how you're going to complete this table here. On the back side of the application, and it's important that you read the entire application more than once, initial that you understand these statements, sign and date it, and then circle and let us know whether or not you are a student veteran. The reason you want to read this multiple times is because you're signing your name to it. So clearly anything that you sign your name to, you should read in full and completely understand. Let's see. There's some information here about some relatively recent curriculum changes. So for instance, if you take your math prerequisite in the spring of 2020 or afterwards, we require a C+. PTA 101 is no longer a required course for PTA majors, although you may still see it in our course catalog as it is available for international students. And let's see. Here is pages, I think 9 and 10 is a step-by-step guide for how to get yourself ready to apply for the PTA program. And this step-by-step guide should be followed in sequence or in order. So do number 1 before you complete number 2, and number 2 before you complete number 3. So first and foremost, you need to apply to be a Mercer County Community College student. You can submit an application online. There is no charge. You can currently be a student elsewhere, and you can still apply to be a student at Mercer. When you apply to become a student at Mercer, it is extremely important that you establish the correct major. So your major should be listed as health science for PTA. When you've completed 1 and 2, then you need to have official transcripts sent to Mercer from any other academic institutions where you have taken courses. If you haven't yet, established yourself as a Mercer student, and listed health science for PTA as your major, when your official transcript is received by Mercer, they will not know who to send your transcript to for review. So I don't know where it goes. I imagine like a big cardboard box. I'm sure they don't do that, where they throw all the transcripts that they don't know who to forward them to. So it is important that you complete these steps in order. Here's the transcript review process. I'm not going to read that to you, but you can certainly see the steps that is taken. And it's important to note that once I review your transcripts, I will immediately place a note in your student planner portal so that you can see exactly which courses have been accepted for transfer credit. You need to complete all required prerequisites. So what you'll notice is that if you come back here to the degree requirements page, you'll see that there are 9 courses listed here. And there are only 7 courses listed as required prerequisites here. And that's because 2 of the courses, all 9 courses are required for graduation with this Associate of Applied Science degree in PTA, but only 7 of them are required for admittance into the professional phase. So the 2 that aren't listed here are CSW 100 and your general education elective. However, once you're accepted into the professional phase of the program, it is intense, it is challenging, it is time consuming, and not a single student would say, if I asked any of my current students, would you like to add a course to your current course load? They would laugh or they would cry, because that would be very challenging. So I strongly recommend that you complete all 9 of these prerequisite courses before starting the professional phase of the program in the summer. That might mean that you take these last 2 remaining prerequisites in the spring semester in which you apply. Here are some important notes. Again, I'm not going to read them to you because you have access to these on our website, but I would certainly read through all of it. Number 5 is you have to attend a mandatory PTA program information session, which you're doing right now as you watch this video. Just make sure that you complete and submit the associated form after you complete this video. And then when you've completed steps 1 through 5, then you are ready to submit an application for the professional phase of the PTA program. The next few pages outline some important policies and procedures that pertain to you as pre-professional students. So this first one is the impact of pass-fail grades. So during the spring 2020 semester, many academic institutions have provided options for students to opt for a pass-fail grade instead of an earned letter grade. And here's our policy on that. It is important that you read this through. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to send me an email. We also have a policy and procedure here that pertains to how we evaluate the potential for transfer credits. That pertains to you as a pre-professional student. So if you have any questions about that process or how we handle the evaluation of transfer credits, it is all outlined in this policy and procedure, so I encourage you to read that. The next page has to do with our tuition and fee estimates for the academic year of 2020 to 2021. And you can see here that if you live in county, your total is going to be about $15,000. If you live out of county, it'll be about $18,500. And if you live out of state, it'll be approximately $25,000 for the entire program. And this will explain, the key explains how we calculated these. You can see that this is the per credit cost, the total tuition, lab supplies, textbooks, and other costs, which are all outlined on this page. Health records information for pre-professional students. So it is important for you to know that once you are accepted into the professional phase of the program, you will be required to complete health records requirements. And those are listed here. So you'll need to provide proof of medical insurance coverage. You'll need to provide current CPR certification for the healthcare provider, first aid certification, a physical examination form with many lab values and and TB testing, etc., lab results, a declination of Hep B vaccination if applicable, medical malpractice insurance, submission of a criminal background check, which includes a sex offender check, and hard copies of any additional facility-specific requirements such as a flu shot or drug testing, and extra criminal background check, etc. It's important, this is for you to note that with the exception of one thing, I strongly recommend that you do not start working on any of this until you've been accepted to the professional phase and you've attended our mandatory orientation day. Because at orientation, I give you all of the information to make sure that you complete this correctly the first time and at the right time so that it doesn't expire before your third clinical. Because I have students who say, oh, you know, I wanted to get a jump start on things, so I went ahead and got my CPR certification. Then they hand me that certification and they didn't get the right type of CPR certification, or they've completed one of these steps, but they did it so early that it's going to expire before their third clinical. So wait until you're accepted into the program. Wait until you've attended the mandatory orientation day. That way I can give you all of the information that you need to do it at the right time in the right way so that you save your time and your money. Now, clearly, if you need to maintain a current CPR certification for your current job, by all means do that. The only exception, the only thing that I tell students that you should certainly start working on ahead of time is your medical insurance coverage. So in order for you to go out on your clinical affiliations, you have to provide proof that you have medical insurance coverage. And the reason I say that this is the one thing you should do before you are accepted or as soon as you are able is because we've had students in the past who didn't have insurance coverage, and the next open enrollment period for the Affordable Care Act wasn't until November. And all of these documents are due on the first day of the fall semester. So that those students didn't graduate with their original cohorts. They had to wait until the following year. So that's the one thing that might be a little tricky to wait in order to work on that. The other thing that you need to know is that all of these health requirements, we are legally bound to ensure that these are in place because we have a clinical affiliation agreement with all of the PT facilities where we send our students. And that's a legally binding contract between the facility and Mercer County Community College. So we have to abide by our half of that agreement and they abide by theirs. And part of our half is we say, we will not send a student to you who has not completed these health records requirements. It's also important to note that there are no exceptions to these requirements. So if you have, I should say no exemptions to these requirements. So if you have some type of, for instance, a religious exemption from vaccinations, we cannot guarantee that you will graduate from the PTA program. I have had students in the past who have had exemptions in place. I have contacted all of our clinical sites and not a single clinical site was willing to take that student because they also are externally accredited by regulatory bodies such as JCO and CARF, and they're not willing to put that at risk for a student. And I think that's important for you to know ahead of time before you apply to a health professions program. Kinesiology registration information, you can register for kinesiology online just as you would for any other course at Mercer. If you are taking prerequisites at a different college, this is a very important section for you to read through. So ultimately, if you're taking prerequisites elsewhere, you do need to take a course at Mercer as soon as you can to establish your date of matriculation, which is a portion of our application process. You need to make sure that you use that course equivalency list to make sure that you are taking the correct courses at the other institution. And I would highly recommend that at the end of each semester where you take a course elsewhere, that you send an official transcript from that college to Mercer County Community College. Don't wait until you've completed every single prereq somewhere else. have it sent at the end of every single semester. Yes, it costs between $3 and $5, but it is going to make this process much more smooth for you. Like I said before, all students, so acceptance into the PTA program is provisional. That is based on a couple of things: your ability to accept your seat, pay for your summer tuition, and pass a criminal background check. And we use the health professions background check procedure. So it's a policy that is in place not just for the PTA program, but it is for all health professions programs at Mercer. And so that is outlined here. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to send me an email. I'm going to pause here at psychomotor assessments, and I'm going to go back to sharing our website, because I want to talk about the application process or the admissions criteria. So for everyone who applies to the PTA program, an applicant score is calculated out of 100 points, and it's not done by hand as it is on this worksheet. It's done with fancy formulas in an Excel spreadsheet. But the reason that I have put it in this worksheet is because for the purposes of this information session and for advising, it's very easy to see. So this applicant score is calculated out of 100 points. 90, I hope you can see my cursor where I'm pointing. 90 points or 90% is based on your prerequisite grade point average, and 10% or 10 points is based on date of matriculation. So first I'm going to talk about the 90%. So all academic institutions use a quality point system, which is, it's got the pink or purple outline over here, where an A is worth 4 points, a B is worth 3 quality points, a C is worth 2 quality points. And then up at the top, we have this example student who took English, these are the 7 required prerequisite courses. And this example student's grades aren't too bad, right? A B plus, A, B minus, A minus, A minus, B plus. So for English 101, the student earned a B, which equates to 3 quality points, multiplied by a 3-credit course equals 9 grade points. For English 102, the student earned a B+, which equates to 3.4 quality points, multiplied again by 3 because English 102 is a 3-credit class, equals 10.2 grade points. And you can see that we did that all the way across, right? And then the grade points are added up. So the sum of all the grade points, which is highlighted in yellow, is 79.1. And we divide that by the total number of credits that the student took. All of our students are either going to have taken 23 or 24 credits, and that depends on whether or not the student took a 3-credit math or a 4-credit math. So this example student took a 3-credit math, so the total is 23 credits. So 79.1 grade points divided by 23 credits is 3.44, and that is not the cumulative GPA. That is the GPA for these 7 prerequisite courses only. So we come down to this table, we find that 3.44 GPA, and that equates to 60 points. So that's where the student earned 60 out of 90 points for GPA. The last 10% or 10 points is based on date of matriculation. So date of matriculation is defined as what is the first semester that this student took a course at Mercer County Community College with PTA listed as his or her major. And that's why it's important when you complete that step-by-step to-do list that you do it in order. That first you become a Mercer County Community College student, then you indicate your major as PTA, because that clock doesn't start ticking until your major is indicated. So you can see here from this table on the far bottom left that students who have been working toward the degree for a longer period of time get the most points. Someone who just started the semester before gets the least amount of points. Student veterans also get the most points. So this particular student started in the summer of 2016, which earns 7.6 points. So this particular student has a sum total of 67.6 points out of 100. I don't want you to get too nervous about date of matriculation. We have had a handful of students each year who earn the lowest score here, a 1.6, and are still accepted into the professional phase, because it's only worth 10% of your application. and their GPA was so strong that it didn't hinder them from being accepted into the program. So what happens is in the Excel spreadsheet, after the application period closes and everyone is in the Excel spreadsheet, we have Excel reorganize the list from the highest applicant score to the lowest applicant score, and we will accept the 28 students or applicants with the top or the highest applicant scores. So our application process is completely objective and it is based solely on these numbers. We do not accept letters of recommendation, we don't read them. We don't look at volunteer hours. We don't look at hours spent as a rehab aide. We don't do interviews or anything that could be considered subjective in nature. A lot of students want to know what kind of applicant score do I need to be accepted into the program? So for the class of 2020, I believe the applicant scores ranged from like a 95 down to a 68. So this student would not have been accepted, he would have just missed it. For the class of 2021, the applicant scores ranged from a 95 to a 75. So again, he wouldn't have made it, this particular example student. And so what that means is, well, you can see from those two examples that really you're competing against the applicant pool who submits applications the same year you do. And so I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know each year when the applicant pool is going to be stronger or not as strong. But this is a highly competitive program and we tend to have very strong applicants. So I will oftentimes have students who come and meet with me and say, listen, I did not get accepted last year. My applicant score wasn't high enough. What can I do to improve my chances of getting accepted next year? And so what I tell the students is that you cannot go back and you can't change your date of matriculation score. You cannot go back in time and take a course earlier, right? Time unfortunately doesn't work that way. But what you can do is you can impact the GPA of those 7 required courses. So if this particular student came and sat with me in my office, I would say, find out which of these you earned the lowest score for. So for this student, it's the B-, which is the math course. And I would say, if you have the time to retake a math course, the funds, right, the money to retake the math course, and the confidence that you can earn a higher score, then retake your math course. Because at Mercer, let's say that this student retakes his math course and earns an A. We don't average the B- and the A. He's going to get the A. But we don't take the higher score. We take the most recent score. So if he retakes the math course and earns a C+, now we're taking the C+. So you can retake these courses and earn higher grades, and those most recent grade will count. And that's important because you can see that these 4-credit courses like Anatomy and Physiology 1 and 2 are going to be weighted a little bit more heavily in this application score. So I'm going to go back to, on our website, it says PTA program admissions. Oh, no, I'm going to go back to our calculation score. I forgot to mention right here, we've got this table in the middle, establishment of eligibility. Before we calculate a score, we first make sure that this student is eligible to apply this year. So we ask these questions. Does the applicant have a cumulative GPA of a 2.5 or higher? The answer has to be yes. Have any of the courses expired? The answer has to be no. Has the student earned the minimum grade requirement for all of these courses? The answer has to be yes. Are all of the prereq courses located on their Mercer transcript? The answer has to be yes. If you've taken some of these prerequisite courses at other academic institutions, you have to have had those transcripts sent to Mercer and have them located on your Mercer transcript in order for you to be eligible to apply. Did the student attend a mandatory PTA program information session? The answer has to be yes. And if we can answer, yes, no, yes, yes, yes to those 5 questions, then good news, this person is eligible for acceptance into the professional phase of the program. I'm going to go back to our information packet. And I'm going to scroll back up to the application itself. I know that I verbally spoke about all of the expiration dates and minimum grades required in this video, but I also want to point out that on the application itself, there's a column here where the expiration dates are listed and the minimum grade requirements are listed. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out to you. So I'm going back down to where we left off, which is psychomotor testing. Okay, so competency tests are primarily proctored by adjunct faculty who are, and sometimes full-time faculty who are practicing PTs and PTAs, and that's where we test skills, not in complete isolation from other skills, but we might have a comp test on your ability to perform ultrasound, or your ability to do vital signs, or your ability to do manual muscle testing. And those are how we assess your psychomotor course objectives. Then we have practical exams, which take place once a semester, and all of your lab courses will be assessed in that one practical exam. So it more closely mimics a physical therapy treatment session, and you perform skills from all of your lab courses. We do have a PTA club that is open to all of our professional phase students and our pre-professional phase students, and we have flyers hanging outside of my office, MS 157, and also outside of the PTA lab, MS 352. And also the Student Government Association has information about PTA Club. The next few pages has to do with the essential functions of a PTA student or a PTA. So all jobs have an essential functions list, which says these are the minimum things that this person needs in order to have success filling this role. And so whether you are a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, a secretary, a chef, a carpenter, what have you, there's always a list of what the essential functions are for that job. So these are the essential functions for a PTA student. And it's important that you know ahead of time what is going to be required of you so that you can make sure that this is a program that is going to be a good fit for you. And it's basic things. You need to be able to read in English and speak in English, stand for 10 minutes, sit for 10 minutes, lift 50 pounds. If you can't lift 50 pounds now, we're going to teach you how to do that. Once you are accepted into the professional phase, we will have you fill this out and hand it in as one of our forms. But for now, we provide it just so that you have transparent access to the information of what is going to be expected of you as a student. Let's see. So once you've established your date of matriculation, if you are not going to take a course at Mercer for 2 consecutive years, you might lose your date of matriculation, which is part of our applicant score. So you should fill out a leave of absence from the college to see if you can maintain that date of matriculation. There's some information here about Mercer's Academic Restart Program. Here's our policy on course grading once you are accepted into the professional phase of the program. It's a little bit different from the rest of Mercer County Community College. So once you are accepted into the professional phase, and this includes kinesiology, which has a prefix of PTA, your minimum grade in order to pass the course is a 77. Additionally, for lab courses that have a cognitive component and a psychomotor component, you need to earn a 77 in the cognitive domain separately and distinctly from the 77 that you are required to earn in the psychomotor domain. You wouldn't want to go to the doctor for surgery, maybe an ACL reconstruction, and have the doctor say, you know, I aced the ACL reconstruction exam, but doing it, I wasn't so hot at that. You want a doctor who knows it and can do it, right? Those two different domains have equal importance, which is why we have this grading policy in place. We do have support services for differing abilities at Mercer. There's information here in our information packet about that. There are some basic computer skill expectations that we've outlined, so you can read through this. There is a suspension expulsion policy that is a policy housed within the health professions division for our externally accredited programs. Ultimately, if you've been suspended or expelled from one of our programs, that precludes you from applying to another health professions program. There's information here about financial aid and scholarships that are available. And if you want to take additional classes that are not required, but you want to continue to take additional courses, these are the ones that we recommend that would be helpful. I highlighted medical terminology because if you only have time and the financial means to take one course, by far I would recommend medical terminology. That will make it easier for you to succeed in the professional phase courses, but also to succeed in this profession. I've got a list of other support services. So we've got support services for differing abilities, tutoring, our Success Center, library services, success coaching, counseling services, and veteran services all are listed here. And last but not least, we have some contact information. So that is our information packet, which is available on our program website. I'm going back to the PowerPoint where we started. At least 60% of our written exams within the professional phase of the program are administered through the Academic Testing Center on the West Windsor campus. This allows us to maximize the use of the minutes that we have with you in lecture. All courses at Mercer are provided with a Blackboard shell. So in addition to what you receive face-to-face, many professors are going to use their Blackboard shell to provide additional resources. And we already spoke about competency testing and practical examinations. After graduation, you are eligible to sit down and take your national board exam. How do clinicals work? All right, so we have a clinical coordinator, an academic coordinator of clinical education. I have been fulfilling that role for the last 11 years, and starting in the fall of 2020, we will have a new clinical coordinator come on board, and this person is going to assign each student to their fall, spring, and summer clinical affiliations. We make sure that all of our students have a variety of experiences that allow for them to treat a variety of patients and diagnoses and different experiences that make a well-rounded graduate who's ready for entry-level practice. We try to do our best to keep all students within a 1-hour drive of their clinical affiliation. We seek input from the students with regards to what their interests are. And we also get to know our students very well. We know our clinical sites very well, and we try to place students in a site where we think that they are going to fit in well and succeed. So we already spoke about some of the requirements expected in order for you to participate in clinical affiliation courses. So that's all of your health records requirements. So all of the health records requirements and passing all of the didactic courses that are taken beforehand. There's a little bit more information about clinicals. Okay, so what does it realistically take to succeed in the PTA program? So in the PTA program, you're going to need strong time management skills, stress management skills, and organizational skills. This is a wonderful journey. This academic 15 months that the program currently is an academic journey that can be very exciting, but it's intense and it's doable. We've had, successful graduating classes since 1998. But those skills, if you need to work on your organization skills, your stress management skills, or your time management skills, I would encourage you to contact our success coach, Nicole Killian, now, so that you can start working on those skills now, not once you get into the professional phase of the program. Let's talk about working. while you're in the professional phase. Everyone wants to know, can I hold a full-time job? Can I work while I'm in the professional phase? And I will tell you this is a full-time program. We've never had anyone graduate from this program while working full-time. That is not possible. Only our students who are academically inclined, which means things come easily to them. They remember things well, they understand things, they're good test takers, right? They're academically inclined. So our academically inclined students who have great time management skills, stress management skills, and organizational skills, right? Only those students can maybe get by with working 10 to 15 hours a week while they're in the professional phase. So we have a lot of students who, they work, they save up their money, make sure that they have this financial cushion to get them through the year, the 15 months that it's going to take them to get through the professional phase of the program. Some apply for scholarships, some take out personal loans. They calculate how much they need for their mortgage and their daycare and their food expenses, what have you, their living expenses, and that gets them through the year. And then when they graduate, they start to pay back that personal loan. So only you know your life situation, your financial situation, but a lot of people do have questions about working. So that's what this slide is here. We just spoke about working and finding some balance. So what happens after you submit an application for the professional phase of the PTA program? You're either going to receive, okay, so when you put in your application, within a week, you're going to receive an email from me that gives you a status update about your application. But then after spring break, you're going to receive a letter in the mail, and you're going to receive one of two letters. Either you've been provisionally accepted for that year's cohort, or you have not been accepted. So the left-hand column explains provisional acceptance. So you're going to receive an acceptance letter containing a to-do list, and everything's very clearly outlined in that letter. So you will need to accept your seat, provide any section preferences if those are options, pay your summer tuition bill, attend the mandatory orientation to the professional phase, submit a criminal background check application and pay for that. And you're going to need to check your emails and start to prepare for summer courses. And I explain what all of that is. When you're not accepted, you can do this. You can contact me to review your application, review how you can possibly strengthen your application score for the following year. And you should also have a backup plan in place. So if you go on our program website and you click on PTA program information and you see all of our outcome data, you will see that there are years that we have 66 applicants, 80 applicants, 100 applicants, and we only accept 28. So the majority of our applicants are receiving this letter, the not accepted letter. So it is important to have a plan in place for if you are not accepted into that year's cohort. What you want to not do is to respond emotionally, unprofessionally, or inappropriately. It is not easy to receive a letter that says you were not accepted into that year's cohort. And there are certainly normal emotions that anyone would feel when they read that letter. And I would highly encourage you to sit with those emotions for a little bit and let them dissipate prior to communicating back to the program. The other thing that you should not do is have any other person contact me or anyone else at Mercer on your behalf. So it is not appropriate to have your parent contact the program, your spouse, your employer, your physical therapist employer. You should be the only person communicating with Mercer about your application. And again, that should only come to me. What do we do as a program after we accept the next cohort of students? So the left is what we do. We update the outcome data tables on the PTA program website. What we do not do is we don't publish and provide the ranking of applicants. So we make sure that we provide privacy for all applicants. I hope that this information session video was helpful to you. Please, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to email me at pta@mccc.edu, and I look forward to seeing you soon.